Twilight, Eclipse. Let's get into the plot of this movie. Seattle is haunted by a strange number of disappearances and killings, and it's all threatening to build up to a vampire army which threatens the Cullens, the humans, and the Volturi. In the meantime, we have Edward and Bella trying to prepare their marriage, which was what hinted at the end of the second film. And of course, you still have the Jacob relationships to worry about. So in the meantime, and also graduation's approaching, so Bella has a different series of choices to make. What to do after graduation, choose Edward or Jacob, and to make one more decision, life or death, as she still wants to become a vampire. And in the meantime, Victoria is still on the hunt for revenge after the events of the first film. So there we go. Now going into Eclipse, I was not looking forward to this movie. As much as I pretty much liked the first film, I loathed the second film. It lost everything that had the appeal about the first one, shoved it in a garbage can, and just pretty much dominated the whole thing. It just was too long, too boring, too slow, and dull. So, but Eclipse actually did look a lot better than New Moon. So was I impressed with Eclipse, or was it just another dull installment of the Twilight franchise? You shall find out. Let's get straight into the pros and cons. Now the pros about the film, the acting genuinely surprised me. Kristen Stewart and Robert Pattinson felt a bit more genuine, and the relationships as well, when they're doing it, you can clearly tell the chemistry between the actors. And, you know, so they surprised me a lot with their acting skills. The side cast is easily better, but I still think that the main cast have improved definitely over the second film, where the acting was just dull and shite. So you have, who else you have on the side? You have all the Cullens, which I think were much better used this time around, and you usually have them preparing for the big battle sequences towards the end, which I liked. The Volturi did a bit more in this movie, though not that much more. You know, I would have thought they would have led the vampire army, but it was actually Victoria who led them. So, but you know, I really thought that. Sorry about that noise; it's annoying. But you know, I think the Volturi still could have done a bit more. But anyways, let's move out of acting. Now, again, as I said, the relationships, unlike the second film, and to some extent even in the first film, didn't feel forced or scripted or put on. The relationships here actually felt genuine. They felt as though that it was hitting the right notes, and they felt as though they were in love for the right reasons, and you can definitely tell that they were in love. And there's a few more saucy scenes in this film. Though no sex, don't worry. Another thing I liked about the film, now the action this time is much better this time around. David Slade, who directed this, did 30 Days of Night and Hard Candy, despite not having seen those films, but I will do at some point. You can definitely tell that he was like very into the action vampire genre, because the action in this movie is stunning. The jaw-dropping finale sequence, as well as a one-on-one fight with Edward and Victoria, was so epic. I was actually caring a lot more about these characters and who was going to live or die. And that's another thing. The character development is actually much better here. In the second film, I couldn't give a toss who lived or died because the characters weren't that well developed. But in this one, you actually did feel the pain and the emotion that they were going through. Chris White, take notes from David Slade, please. So, what else did I like about Eclipse? The pacing was pretty much perfect. I did not have many problems at all with the pacing. You know, so I mean, I'll get into the cons a little bit later on. So again, the action was good. The ending was much better than the second one. It does somewhat leave you open for Breaking Dawn, but it's not as much a cliffhanger as the ending of New Moon was. So that's a plus right then and there. And I like how, and the action scenes with the vampire army and the werewolves, when you see them come head on, and you see them work together with the Cullens, I think that's just amazing to watch. Now, as much as I did really love this movie, there were a couple of things that I did find some nitpicks about though. First off, some of the scenes with them, Edward and Bella, did feel a bit too corny for my taste. It just felt a little bit too awkward. But that's just a personal preference. It's nothing to do with if the film was bad. Another side, sometimes the film did feel a tiny bit slow-paced, particularly in the beginning, as it does take a while to get going. But unlike New Moon, once it does actually get going and it saves itself and climbs back up later on. Another thing is that sometimes I felt the ending after all the fighting and everything did end a bit too suddenly, but never mind. there's still Breaking Dawn to come, right? So, and you know, and another thing, sometimes the film isn't afraid to show blood this time, and I've said this with Brooklyn's Finest. Oh, this is much better than Brooklyn's Finest, you know. But sometimes some of the characters tend to get a bit annoying, but they weren't as annoying this time around. Just something up though, Twilight Eclipse is a much needed return to form to the franchise, and it's a blood-busting installment. That's a good way I can put it. It makes your blood bust. It's a blood-busting installment with all the action and the drama, the romance, and all of it felt genuine. The script was much, much better this time around, I thought. So I'm going to give Eclipse 4.5 stars out of 5. It's I love it. One of the best films I've seen this year. Coincidentally, as New Moon was one of the worst films I saw last year. Odd. So, it's a much needed improvement over New Moon, and it even surpasses Twilight. So Eclipse is the best film of the franchise. And for those of you guys who don't know, I saw Killers the other day. Yeah. Seen the formula loads and loads of times before, so 2.5 stars out of 5 for Killers. So next for Twilight, we've got Breaking Dawn, which is pretty much like the next Harry Potter film, which is in 2 parts. And I might be doing a trailer review for Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, but all I can say is it looks epic. So unless you want me to suck your blood on YouTube, I shall sign out.